watching NotesIn9.
Hello, and welcome to NotesIn9. I'm David Leedy. Episode 78, XPages, Tracking User Clicks. The Making of Collaboration Today, Part 3. Okay, so this is the third NotesIn9 show on collaboration Today.info, which is this new website that's run by OpenNTF.org, and it's an aggregation site of the news and blog posts and videos and just about anything that's happening in the IBM collaboration solutions space. And what's kind of unique about this is it's curated by some top experts, different categories and stuff like that, in an attempt to just get you the best and most relevant stuff about the collaboration solutions. And they're doing a great job. So Niklas Heideloff is coming back on, and Niklas is a great friend of the community. He's a driving force behind OpenNTF.org. He actually works for IBM, and he's contributed to many different projects. And he's one of the developers on this application, and he's going to show us how they do click counting. Okay, so as you click on an article, they don't publish it, but they have this popular category, and he kind of shows you the behind the scenes of how that works. So just a little word of warning: this show is I think a little more advanced, and I think it's going to be better when the template is released and we can kind of pick it apart, and hopefully that'll be soon. But here's how you know this show is going to be advanced. Nicholas is using some stuff that Tim Trecconi did. And if you know anything about Tim Trecconi, that's kind of like, transparent aluminum from the future. Here it is. So he's going to talk about storing serialized Java objects inside a notes item on a document at one point. And we haven't really gone into that on this screencast. So if you haven't seen that blog post, basically the gist of this is if you have a Java object like a bean, like a managed bean or so, that can contain other Java objects. So you can kind of like have a containing bean, and you can have, like, say it's a company, and you can have a contact bean or an address bean, that has all these contacts and maybe activities for this company, and they're all related. And what serialization is basically where you can take all of these related objects and kind of like encode them into some kind of like weird text hash string, and then that can actually be saved in a notes item, and then you can just pull that back from that document later on. So it could almost be like the ultimate shopping cart. So at least that's my impression of what this is. Again, it's a Tim blog post, and quite honestly, my head still hurts from all of that. So that's kind of what it is, and that's really kind of fancy stuff, I think, and he just touches on the top of it. But I just wanted to just give you, I guess, a little commentary on what at least I think they're doing and what it is there and what it means to you. It is a really neat sounding technique. It's just not something that I'm personally ready for yet, but others are. So again, I'm looking forward to this app being released to OpenNTF. I'm hoping it's going to actually be in the next several days to a week or two. If I find out differently, I'll update the show notes for this, but it's coming, and as soon as it does come, I'm sure I'll be talking about it on a future show, because I do really believe that there's a lot of good techniques inside this app that's worth picking apart. Now, all that being said, this is about tracking activity and click counts and stuff like that. So for if you want maybe an easier example that's kind of less functional and certainly less cool, I did a NotesIn9 a little while ago on just tracking downloads, and where I had a downloadable file inside an XPages app, and I did that for the cheat sheet website, basically, so I could just attempt to at least track when the cheat sheet gets downloaded. So it's kind of, I'm putting that up here just because it's a little similar vein, but it's certainly easier and less functional than what these guys are doing here. But anyway, for what that's worth. So anyway, without any further ado, let's go to the demo.
Hi everybody, Niklas Heideloff here. In the video today, I want to describe how we've implemented the page Popular of Collaboration Today. What you see here on this page is the list of links that are sorted by the amount of times readers of Collaboration Today have clicked these links over the last week. Now, the readers don't see these amounts, but since I'm logged in as moderator, I can go to the moderation UI and I see that same list, and here I can also actually see the amount of times. This is the amount of time or all time clicks, and this is the amount of times a link has been clicked over the last week. So now let me pick one of these entries here. Let's say this one here, how to set up Domino Designer. As you can see, it has currently 0 clicks. Now let me find that same link here on the page. Here it is. And before I click it, I open Firebug so that you can see what's going on here. So when I click this page, this link, the page is opened. And also, as you could see here, this is actually directly the link to that page, to the news article. But we also catch the event when someone clicked, and we invoke an AJAX call. An AJAX call to an XPage called log.xsp, and then we pass in the ID of the news item. That's essentially it. So end users or readers don't see that, but we track this information in the backend. Now, when I go back into the moderation UI, I won't see that change immediately, simply because this information is all cached, as I talked about in a previous meeting, in a previous video, and you can see the clicks are still 0. But now, when I edit any arbitrary news entry to refresh the cache, and then I go back under popular, I should now see this entry here, and here it is, and the click count has been increased. So that works. Now let me show you how we've actually implemented that. So the first thing here is the log.xsp, the XPage, and right now we are using an X agent, but we are thinking about changing that to an RPC call. Again, for now it's just a simple XPage, an X agent, and all we do here is to create a click object. We pass in the ID and the IP address, and then we call a method addClick on a variable click cache. So let me show you the click class. Click is really just a very simple data object with the ID, the IP address, and date in there. And the next thing here, click cache, is a managed bean that we define in the faces-config file. So this is the JavaScript variable name, and this is the actual Java class, click cache. And the click cache class is also relatively simple. The main method, and really the only public method here, is the method addClick, which is called from the X agent. The other important thing here is that it stores a list of, or a hash set of clicks. And whenever this method now is called addClick, the internal hash set here gets one click added, one click object. So then in the next step, we check whether we want to run our code again to make this click persistent. Now, we don't want to do that every time someone clicks, because because we want to avoid concurrency issues, and also it just doesn't make sense. We want to save some I/O here and really only save multiple clicks together. So our run again method checks a couple of things. One thing is whether one thing we do here is to make sure we only save or update these clicks every 5 minutes. So in the worst case, we could lose these these clicks in the 5 minutes if the server would crash or go down. For the purpose of this demo, I uncommented this line here so that it would store the new click count directly, so that I could show that here in this demo. So going back to addClick, again, we add the clicks object to our internal list here. We check whether that code, whether we need to make these clicks persistent. And also, in order to avoid concurrency issues here, this method is actually synchronized. In other words, it can only be invoked by one person at a time. So that means that everything within this method should hopefully execute as fast as possible so that no one is blocked. Within this method here now, the actual code to make something persistent is done here in the Java class writeCacheJob. And this class essentially creates an Eclipse job, another thread, that invokes the functionality to save these clicks, and everything happens asynchronously. So now the next thing I need to show you here is this actual class writeCacheJob. Here's the class, and essentially it creates a Java or an Eclipse job, which is what you can see here. Right-clicks job extends the Eclipse job here. Come on, org Eclipse core runtime jobs job, and this is almost the same example that I published previously. It's another open source OpenNTF project called Threads and Job Sample. And in order to run this job here, you need to do some configuration. You need to change some policies here in java.policies. Right now, you actually have to grant permissions to all permissions because that Java code runs or executes in the context of this database. Unfortunately, something like this doesn't work. You can't scope it to only one database, which is what you really would want to do. So what we will do next is to actually take that one Java class that I just showed you with the inner class for the job and put it in an OSGI bundle and deploy it separately so that we can define the permission here on a finer granularity. Let me go back now to the Eclipse job class. I wanted to highlight a couple of things. So as you remember, we call here the method start and we pass in the hash set of clicks. And in this job, we do a couple of things. First of all, we receive these clicks here, actually in the constructor. And then we go through all of these clicks. And first of all, we remove all the duplicates to make sure that each click is only counted once per IP address. Then we sort all the clicks by their IDs, and then we loop through all of the use items that have been clicked in the last 5 minutes. And then we do a couple of interesting things here. I want to highlight the two methods restore state and save state. These are methods or code that we reuse from Tim Troconi, who blogged about it. This is the save state and this is the restore state. Essentially what these methods do is to store arbitrary Java objects that can be serialized in a single item. So for example, this allows us to serialize all of our clicks objects into one serializable object, into this hash set, and we add it into a notes field, an item, and that's it. And then vice versa, we can say we want to get a serializable version of the Java object from a specific field. So those methods are the ones we are using here, right here. So first of all, we read all the clicks that had already been done in the past, and then we add the ones from the last 5 minutes with the ones that we just read from the documents. Again, we remove all duplicates, and then we save the state. In other words, we save all clicks, Java clicks objects in one single field here. And in addition to that, we also store the all-time clicks count and the clicks in the last week as separate notes fields, number fields. And this allows us to have views that can actually sort documents by their click counts. And just to show you quickly how this looks here in Notes. So this is the document that I just clicked here, I think. Let's see. Yeah, this is the one, how to set up Domino Designer. Okay, as you saw in the beginning, it had a click count of 0. Now when I refresh this view, you can see that these numbers 1 and 1 show up now. And I can also show this here in the document properties. This is the clicks count all time, and this is the amount of clicks last week. And this is this one field or item where we store all clicks, all Java clicks objects here as a serializable in a MIME field. And you can't really read this here, but it's as it tells here, it's the whole hash set. So that's a kind of a quick overview how we've implemented the click hash. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for attention.
And that's the demo. I do want to really thank Niklas Heidloff for taking the time to make these videos. It's his first time contributing to NotesIn9, and he made 3 videos on this wonderful website using this really interesting technology. And he's my first IBMer on the show. I've got another one lined up, and I do appreciate it. I know he has his own feed of videos that he uses, outputs through the OpenNTF blog, but I really do appreciate the fact that he came on and to NotesIn9 and my Drive to 99 business and helped me out there, and I do really want to thank him for that. If you have any questions on the show, you can contact me at this address information here. If you have any questions on the technology shown in the show, like serializing Java objects and saving them inside a Notes item that lives inside a Notes document, then I might not be the best person to ask those questions to, but Niklas or Tim or Stack Overflow will be a great place for that. So thank you for your time.